Hello and welcome back to another part. I'm really excited that in this part we're gonna set up our own Portainer server. We will install our Nginx Proxy Manager and also our own password manager so we can safely store our credentials, license keys, and even at your own customers or employees. But first, I need to give you some warning because this is more advanced stuff and I highly recommend that you go through the basic server security. In my documentation, you set up your SSH key, you create your own local user in a Linux system, and also you prevent root login and you install uncomplicated firewall, UFW firewall, and also you can make it more secure even with CrowdSec. And regarding securing Docker, that is very time consuming and it requires a lot of knowledge. So I will give you some resources that you can follow on the official website on the Docker to get to enhance the security of the Docker daemon. But if you're not gonna be comfortable with that, my company Webnestify can definitely help you with your Docker and your deployments and provide you with the complete and secured dedicated backend solutions. So now let me introduce you to Portainer. Portainer is a graphical user interface where you can manage all of your containers, networks, and the volumes and everything else. It is really pretty simple and straightforward. You can deploy many applications through Portainer and you don't have to spend too much time in Linux terminal. Nginx Proxy Manager is a reverse proxy that will make your Docker containers publicly available on HTTPS. It will automatically deploy Let's Encrypt on your system, and it is really easily manageable through nice graphical UI that you will see later in this video. And lastly, we have our Vaultwarden, which is alternative implementation of open source Bitwarden Password Manager. And Vaultwarden is really fast. It is written in Rust and it got all the features that you can get with Bitwarden Enterprise. If you're going to like Vaultwarden, I highly recommend supporting this project via donating to GitHub, or even you can donate some money to the official Bitwarden. In this case, you really can help make the progress and keep the open source project alive. So now we're going to start preparing our Portainer server. If you check our prerequisites, videos and documentation, you know that we already set up our Portainer server. And now we're gonna need to set up our firewall. So we open the server, you go to firewall, you can remove this firewall if you had it, if you follow the documentation, and we're gonna create our new firewall. Let me zoom in a little bit, it's fine. And first thing what we need to do, we want to name our firewall, which is Portainer. And now we're gonna add a couple rules. I'm gonna remove those. We can remove those also. And mainly, only thing that we will be open to public will be port 80 for HTTP traffic and port 443. We're gonna name it HTTP, HTTPS, and yes. Now we're gonna secure our SSH port, which we're gonna do by inserting our dedicated IP from our VPN server. And you just paste the IP there. Another port that we want to protect is port 81, which is Nginx Proxy Manager. Only we can get access to the user interface. But if we're gonna later set up SSL for this, so no worries. And the port will be 81 TCP. And last port that we need to open is port for Portainer. And also we specify our IP address and TCP port 8000. Yes, you can set up SSL via NPM on the for the Nginx Proxy Manager itself, and also or the Portainer, but I don't like doing that because it will be available publicly on the port 443, which is not controlled by our IP address, and everyone get access. So the choice is yours how we can do it, but I will show you how you can do it, but you need to decide if you want to keep those NPM and Portainer instances only available on your IP address. That's up to you. Once we have those firewall rules, we're gonna apply them to the server, that's fine, and we're gonna create our firewall. Alright, our firewall is installed and we can jump preparing our server in a Linux terminal. Alright, so first thing what we want to do is to perform an update. So we're gonna type apt update $& and apt upgrade. I'm gonna specify yes. This process can take 1 to 3 minutes depending on the server speed and the network speed and how many packages are installed. But usually when you deploy new server, there's gonna be most of the packages gonna be up to date. But always perform apt update and apt upgrade when you're installing new software. And as you can see, we are almost finished with this process. And once this is done, we're gonna set up our time zone. And to set up your time zone, you need to type time date ctl set time zone, and you can use your time zone that you are currently in. But for me, it's Europe, Bratislava. Perfect. Now when this is done, you will need to continue with the basic server security, and I'm not going to show you because I already created video for this, and you just need to follow along the documentation, and basically you will be good to go. So let me security server, and we will continue. So after you rebooted your server and you already got the firewall installed, UFW and CrowdSec, we can continue installing our Docker service through our local user with the administrative privileges. So I'm going to open my snippet, and I will leave the snippets in the documentation so you can follow along. And we're gonna install our Docker. So first we're gonna set up our repository. We're gonna enter our password. That's done. We're gonna set up the PGP keys for the Docker. We're gonna add some entries there. And lastly, we're gonna install our Docker services on our Debian 11 server. And this process should take 2-3 minutes at maximum. Alright, so we are done. And now we will need to add our local user to the Docker group so we can use the Docker commands without typing sudo. Let me clear the screen. In order to do that, we're gonna need to add a sudo usermod -a capital G group Docker, and we're gonna name our local user. In this case, tilde DA. Perfect. And now when we type docker ps, first we need to reboot our server, so we're gonna type sudo reboot. And 20-30 seconds and server will be available online. So let me try. Okay, I'm gonna ask for password again. I'm gonna continue. And we are back, and when we type docker ps, see, we can manipulate with Docker without sudo privileges, which is really good. So let me go back to the snippets, and we're gonna install our Portainer, and we're gonna paste it. And basically this command, all it do is gonna install our Portainer. We only exposed port 80,000 without HTTPS. We're gonna name our Portainer, and there are some policies where the Portainer is restarted. It will always come back online automatically, and we're gonna mount it to the Docker socket, and yeah. And here we're gonna pull the latest Portainer community image. But first, we need to create our volume for Portainer. So you will find the commands in the documentation. So this will create a Portainer data volume. Actually, we don't need to use sudo. I need to update those. So just move back. I'm gonna remove it. Now we have our Portainer data volume. And now we're gonna paste our installation script. And going to remove the sudo. Yes, I can move back with a shortcut, but yeah. And it will download and install our Portainer. So now we're going to verify our images by typing docker ps. And as you can see, our Portainer is running and we can access the WebUI. So let me copy the server IP. Alright, and we're gonna move back to the browser. And we're gonna paste the server IP, and port will be 8000. Let me pause this. Okay, and we're gonna press enter. We're gonna continue to unsecure site, and we got nothing found. Let me debug this issue because Portainer is running. So did we actually open the port? Okay. So we're gonna check our firewall because I made probably mistake. So we go to Portainer, going to copy this IP address, and we can add another port, and we can do 9000 for the Portainer. Sometimes they change the default port, so we're gonna save changes. And when we go to servers, we're gonna copy the IP, and we go to port 9000. Perfect, now we are in, so the Portainer is accessible on the port 9000. So when we go back into our firewall, we can remove port 8000. We're gonna save changes. So first, when you log in, it will ask you for the password, and you will need to create your new credentials. So we're gonna add our username FOSS. We're gonna add our strong and complicated password. If you want, you can allow some statistics for the Portainer team that can help make the product better, but I don't like it. I don't like any telemetry or anything. So now we can create our user. And first we need to add our environment. And yeah, basically we're gonna add a Docker standalone. And we can connect our VPN server that we previously created to this Docker instance, so we can manage our VPN through this interface. So now we need to open port 9001 for the Portainer agent. So we go back to our Hetzner Cloud Console. If you are using Hetzner, we're gonna go to the VPN server, firewalls. You check this firewall, and we can add our rule that will name it Portainer agent, and we're gonna copy the IP address from our Portainer instance and add it here as the IP address. Hold on. Yes, of course. Alright, we got our IP address, TCP protocol is fine, and we're gonna type 9001. And we're gonna click Save Changes. I'm gonna refresh it. Alright, so now the port is opened. We go back to our servers. We're gonna copy the IP address from the VPN server. We move back to the environment setup in Portainer. You can name it my VPN server. I'm gonna paste the server IP and specify port 9001. And now we're gonna install our Portainer agent in our server. So we jump back to our terminal. I'm gonna check my snippets for Portainer. Portainer agent paste. And again, I need to remove the sudo from it because we can run it without sudo. And this take 10 to 15 seconds. Now it's done. And let me switch the screen to the browser. We're gonna click connect. As we can see, we got new environment named my VPN server, so we can close this. And when you go to the main Portainer, this is your own Portainer instance. Is named local, but we can change the name for it. So you go to environments, local, and you change it to my Portainer instance or whatever you prefer. And also you can add your public IP here. So when you click the port in the services, it will automatically open a new tab. I will show you later. And we're gonna update. Perfect. So you can click on the My VPN server, and here you can see that you have 4 containers running. That means you have a Portainer agent. Let me zoom in so we can see. You have a Portainer agent. You got Pi-hole for DNS ad blocking, Unbound for DNS server, and WireGuard for your VPN. And when you open any of the ports, you can see there are running some stats. You can check logs, and even you can edit some configurations for the Docker container itself. But this is really meant for some advanced stuff, so you need to know what you are doing. Otherwise, you can break the containers and everything can just stop working suddenly, and you will need to fix it. And what's the really cool feature of Portainer? That you can check the logs by clicking this log icon. And if you got any issues with anything or something is not working, you can always check the logs and you will see what's wrong and what's not running. As you can see, This is pretty cool and a convenient feature that you don't have spent time in a Linux terminal to manage your containers. Okay, so now is time to set up our Nginx Proxy Manager. And when you go to the NPM Proxy Manager website, you click Get Started. You can read more about this, and you can follow the Docker Compose installation documentation. So you can just copy this snippet. You go back to the Portainer. You go to the stacks. Actually, we're gonna install it on our Portainer instance. So we go to stacks, add new stack. You can name it NPM, and you just paste this. And once you click deploy the stack, it will automatically install this container with the Nginx Proxy Manager. And you don't see any logs at the background, but it is pulling the images and it will install the services. And once this is done, the page will be refreshed and you will know that you can access it. So let us just wait a little bit. And as we can see, our stack was successfully deployed. We're gonna open the stack. We can check the logs and everything looks perfect. And you can just visit NPM on the port 81 by clicking this port, and it will open a new tab. And by default, email address is admin@example.com and password is change.me. Once you log in, you will be prompted to create your own credentials. So we're gonna name it Simon Epson FOSSDA@webnestify.org. I'm gonna save it, and you're gonna change the password. So we type change.me, and you're gonna enter your new and secure password that later you can store in the Bitwarden vault. And you click save. Perfect. I wonder if there is dark mode with this new update. Let me check it. Probably not. There is no dark mode for this, but yeah, it is what it is. So first thing, what I like to do when I set up Nginx Proxy Manager for my customers or sometimes for myself, I like to create SSL certificates. And we are not going to be using any Cloudflare or any DNS integrations because we have our own DNS. So we want to add a SSL certificate. Domain names will be star.webnestify.org. That means we will have wildcard certificates for subdomains, for subdomains for the subdomains, and so on and so forth. And last, you want to type your main domain, like webnestify.org. You agree to the challenges, and now we're gonna need to move back to our cyber panel to check if we have our DNS records already. So we go to DNS, add or delete records, select our domain, and we have our webnestify.org is pointing to the server. That's perfect. And yes, that's pretty it, and we can continue deploying our SSL certificate. Oh yeah, actually, we cannot use a wildcard certificate because we are using our own DNS. If you're gonna use like Cloudflare integration, you can do wildcard. So webnestify.org, but we gonna actually use, yeah, I'm gonna move back to DNS. We're gonna add our NPM for the Nginx Proxy Manager. Time to live, we're gonna default, and IP address will be not this one, but let me check. I'll move back to servers, copy this IP, and we're gonna paste it. Up there. I'm gonna refresh the page, and as you can see, our Nginx Proxy Manager subdomain for npm webnestify.org is working, so we can now deploy our SSL certificate for this. So it will be npm.webnestify.org. We can test the server reachability. I'm gonna test it again. That's fine. We can use agree and we can deploy our SSL certificate. Alright, now we have our SSL certificate. It took a couple seconds to do it. And now we can proxy this Nginx Proxy Manager instance to be served over HTTPS. It is up to you if you want to do it or no, but I'm not doing that, but you can. So we go to hosts. We're gonna add our proxy host. We're gonna add npm.webnestify.org. That's perfect. Scheme will be HTTP, and we can just add our server IP, or you can use localhost and port 81, and we want to block common exploits. And now we're gonna select our SSL that we deployed, check for the SSL HTTP2 and also HSTS. Actually, we don't need to do HSTS at the moment. So we're gonna click save. And now when you click this, we are on our NPM on SSL. Alright, so another thing that we want to prepare is our SSL certificate and the domain name for our password manager. So we go back to our DNS panel. You can name Vault subdomain for your Vaultwarden instance. Time to live is default. You're gonna paste the Portainer IP address and you click add. You move back to Nginx Proxy Manager, SSL Certificates, add let's encrypt, and it's gonna be named vault.webnestify.org. Enter to confirm, agree, and you're gonna save. And after a couple seconds, SSL will be already deployed for this domain. Alright, perfect. So now our SSL is done and we can continue with the Vaultwarden installation. So in the Vaultwarden GitHub repository, we're gonna find our Docker Compose file. So we can install our Vaultwarden, and when you check it, somewhere here, let me find it. Where is Docker? Not here. Let me find it. Basically, we can install it with just Docker pull command, but I like to use Docker Compose, so okay, I'm gonna check the wiki. I'm gonna find Compose using Docker Compose, and here we have our template for the Vaultwarden. So we copy this, we go back to our Portainer instance, go to stacks, I'm gonna add a new stack which will be Vaultwarden, and you paste the Docker Compose here, and we're gonna take a look what we're going to need. So I have created my own Docker Compose, which will be a lot of easier to use when we don't have to do much configuration inside of the Vaultwarden. So follow along and be careful. I will leave this compose file in the documentation site, so you can just click and copy to have it. So for the ports, we can leave it 8062. Nobody is using that port. And for the environment, we need to specify our SMTP mailer. In CyberPanel installation, we installed our mailing server, so we can use our CyberPanel to serve SMTP emails from any Docker container. So for SMTP host, it will be mail.webnestify.org. Your will vary. SMTP from, that is your email address that you created in CyberPanel. So webnestify.org. From name, you can name it Vaultwarden if you prefer. SMTP security, start TLS, that's fine. Port 587, that's perfect. Your SMTP username is your email address. And password, you will enter your password, but I'm not going to show it to you here for the security reasons. And another thing that we want to specify is our domain. That is vault.webnestify.org. You can name it webnestify vault or whatever you prefer. Usually you don't want to allow some invitations, but if you want to send invites, to your clients or your colleagues, you can set it to true. Admin token, I highly recommend using Bitwarden to generate your admin token. And when you go to the generator, the password type, you select passphrase, and you add at least 5 words with numbers and capitalization. So I'm going to generate some, and I'm gonna add this admin token, and this will be like the password when you're going to log into the administration area of the Vaultwarden. Signups allow, signups verify, you can set it to true. If you enable public registration, you want to allow signups, so we name it true, and also we want to verify the email. But in this case, we don't need it. We're gonna change it to false and verify recent time every 5 minutes, or I think. Emergency access, you want to have emergency access because if something happened to you, emergency access can always get access to your vault where you have all your credentials for you, for your company, your family, or even clients, so they don't lose any access. Send allowed, true. You can send secure nodes through Bitwarden Send. Syslog, yes. Extended logging, we can set it up to false. Web Vault, yes, because we want to access our vault in our website, but we can also access it through application. And time zone, that's completely fine. And now I'm going to enter the password and I'm gonna start the container. Alright, our stack was successfully deployed. We can check the logs. That's completely fine. And you can display timestamps if you want. And we can now set up our SSL in our Nginx Proxy Manager, our proxy. So when we go back to the dashboard, we're gonna add the proxy host. We can copy this IP address, add a new proxy host, the vault.webnestify.org, vault.webnestify.org. Always press enter when you add the domain. This will be our IP, and I think it is 8062. And you want to block common exploits again, and you're gonna set our SSL for Vault, force SSL HTTP2 support, and we can click save. And now, when we have this, we can just click it and visit our own Bitwarden Vault. But first, we're going to need to set up our account. So when you type vault.webnestify.org/admin, here you will need to paste your admin token. Let me find it. Where is the token? I'm gonna paste your admin token, and you are in the Vaultwarden administration section. So first thing what you want to do is to invite for yourself. So fosda/webnestify.org. I'm gonna send invite. Okay, so we got some SMTP connection error. Certificate verified fails. Alright, so that's good. We can always do the diagnostic. So when we go to diagnostic, that looks fine. Go to settings, SMTP email settings, SMTP authorization TLS, and we can change it. I'm gonna remove that. We can click save. SMTP. We're gonna test our email. Hostname mismatch. Alright, so probably it does not want to allow like a self-signed certificate for our email. So we can accept invalid certificates. That's fine because we are in control. So we're gonna click save. SMTP. And test it. Authentication failed. Invalid credentials. Alright, let me check the email credentials and I will continue. So I found out there was an issue, and the issue was I put wrong from address. It was not FOSSDA but only FOSS that I created the email. So everything is okay. You want to accept those certificates, invalid because it is our, but when we do the mail tester, you will see that we got scored 10 out of 10, so don't worry about it. And we're gonna send our test email. See SMTP test email sent correctly. And when we navigate to our interface, we can see our test was successfully delivered, and now we can perform the mail tester, just to be sure that everything is alright. So we go to the mail tester, copy the address, paste it, testing SMTP, perfect. I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna check our score. As you can see, everything is fine. We are properly authenticated. We are not blacklisted, but we can improve because we just sent the test, and spam assassin don't like those words. So yeah, you can see DKIM valid, DMARC is valid. Our server is using our mailing domain, and That's pretty straightforward. Okay, back to the Vaultwarden admin. So now when we got our SMTP working, we go to the users, gonna enter the email, and we're gonna invite ourselves. Perfect. Let us refresh. And you will see the message join a WebNest Vault. You open it and you click join organization now. And first you want to create your account. Your master password should be really secured, like this one. You want to retype your password there and add some master password hints in case you forget. And you're gonna create your account, and now you can continue. Alright, so now you are in your own password manager. When we check our email, you will receive a welcome email that your invitation was confirmed, and also we will get the device login notifications to your email. And the last thing that we want to do in the Vaultwarden is to check the organization. We don't have any organization now, but that's for another video on this YouTube channel. So now, when you visit your Vault website, you can store your admin credentials, your license keys, or anything secure that you want to use for your own, for you, or anything else. So I really hope you like this video. It's pretty long. I covered 3 applications. Usually I cover 1 application in video, but I wanted to have everything in place when we're going to add more applications to the Portainer. Then will be application by application every single video, because I will try to cover more and also to make it more like friendly for everyone. So yeah, basically this is Portainer. We got our NPM Vaultwarden, and yeah, you can read more about Portainer and those services in the links I will leave for you. And yeah, as I mentioned, with the Docker, you need to be really careful, because you need to properly secure your Docker daemon to prevent containers breakout or any sensitive information that can be leaked online. Usually for myself, my company, and other customers, I'm using Cloudflare Access for my reverse proxy manager, which is really great. With Cloudflare, you will get DDoS protection, stat analytics, and those kind of things that you want to prevent. But yeah, this series is on open source. We got a really tight budget, and we want to have everything in-house. So yeah, sometimes we need to sacrifice some convenience for doing things on our own to save our money. But yeah, it is what it is. So leave please comments down below. If you have any issues, questions, you know what to do already. And yeah, stay tuned for the next part. And I really hope that you will follow any tutorial I create and you're gonna try to play with it. I encourage you to play with every application, so you have the knowledge, and at the end, using free and open source software is always better alternative than using some Google, Microsoft, cPanel, Plesk, or yeah, those things. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Ciao.